Natural Health Podcast. We bring awareness to sustainable health in the business hustle space. Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing, business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve success and optimal health. It's Friday, which means it's time for friends sharing facts about health, business, and overall success. And in today's episode, we talk to Chris Gibson. Chris Gibson is a sought-after skincare expert and holistic health coach. He's also the best-selling author of the acclaimed book Free Acne in 3 Days with 1 million plus copies sold, and has a very successful YouTube channel, Chris Gibson Live. His YouTube channel has over 116,000 subscribers, is dedicated to providing expert information and product reviews on skincare and wellness topics for both skin issues and anti-aging. Some things that Chris loves to do is he's actually formulated 2 skincare lines. He is a proud dog dad of 2 pups, and he absolutely loves gardening. Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, Chris.
Oh, good to be here.
That's great. So tell me a little bit about your 2 pups. What are their names?
Oh, there's Joey and Emma, and they are in here with me. So Joey's already made an appearance with his barking, so hopefully they'll be good. But yeah, they're great. They're just little Jack Russell Terriers, and so if anybody's familiar with that breed of dog, they tend to be very animated and playful all the time.
I love it.
Unless they're asleep. There's 2 modes: play or sleep. That's it. So
that's it. It keeps your house entertained, doesn't it?
Yes. And then there's the guard dog part of them too. So
I love it. I love it.
Funny.
So, Chris, let's get into the audience finding out a little bit about you. If they don't know who you are, I mean, most people would know you on YouTube, and they may watch 1, 2, or if not, thousands of your videos. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What have been the key turning points to get you to where you are now? Have you always done skincare, or hello?
Yes, that's Joey. Yeah, I haven't always done skincare, but skincare has always been really important to me, as I had acne very early on. I was not even quite 11 when I started having problems with it. I'm a bit older than people usually expect. I'm 57, so that means that I had my acne in the 70s and the 80s. And there wasn't a whole lot around there's not really much different now, actually, when it comes to medications. There's really not. They've added retinol as Adapalene is really the only thing. But there was Accutane, so I tried doing all of that stuff, and typical, you'll outgrow it. The main focus of the dermatologist was for me not to end up with a lot of scarring because I had cystic acne. So I sort of just dealt with that. And then as I got into my 20s and it didn't go away, I'm like, why is that not going away? So I had to learn what to do, because I tried everything, nothing was working. So I discovered, that's how I got into holistic health. I discovered that my diet in particular, and especially having been on antibiotics for so long as a teen, was actually contributing to the acne in my adulthood. So I cleared it up myself. I'm making that sound like very quickly. It took some time and some effort and some discovery. Things like sugar and certain dairy products would trigger my breakouts. We know now today that that's common. So I wrote a book on it in 2004. I was in the regular workforce. I worked for the phone company back then. And so it was a surprise when that book did really, really well. So what I found out is a lot of people were suffering the same issues that I had been, to the same journey, or have on the same problems. And then I looked around, thought, well, surely that's in 2004. They've come up with better stuff. No, it was the same ingredients, just renamed something else, like Proactive, and a lot of they were repackaging ingredients that had already been around. So people were not finding the relief. So I didn't write the book as here's what you do. I wrote the book about here's what happened to me and what I did. So I ended up going on TV, and it was a really big deal. Sold a bunch of copies, which it was a big deal for me, because that's not what I planned to have happen. But it re-solidified me in digging back down into the esthetician ship and learning, really digging back into more nutrition, because I was getting older. So I sort of widened my knowledge base in the 2000s, and I decided to start the YouTube channel because I liked doing TV, but TV is it's a lot of work to travel all over the place. And I had done that already. So I thought YouTube would be fun because it's uncensored, you know, and so I found a footing there much faster than I expected. But it's evolved into anti-aging. So now I talk about fitness and nutrition as it relates to skincare and health, especially for people over 50. But I also still talk about acne. I also have videos the videos get a lot of views on acne by younger people. So the channel is still growing, and I'm still sort of defining how I want to put content out so that it reaches all the different people. And I don't stay on one subject too long. So there's 450 videos, 60. So I actually have a thing at the end of the videos now is just type in Chris Gibson and a skincare issue and the video will come up. And that's really true. So, you know, people are able to find what they need. And I have started a blog, which is a big community, and it's growing really quick. So yeah, it's good. And it allows me to be more helpful, to reach more people. And you said you visited the channel, you see that I answer a lot of comments. I would say I get about 80% of them answered, especially the ones that as I go through that I see they're really stressing someone out or something that they really need to know or having difficulty with. I try to make sure those get answered. So it's a job, but it's fun and it helps people, and you get the feedback of how they see the changes in their skin. And I try to, skincare is overwhelming because there's new stuff all the time. Not necessarily new ingredients, but new stuff. And, you know, celebrities are launching skincare lines, and it can be expensive. And so I try to demystify and deconstruct all of that for people and make it simple. That's really basically what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that.
The same thing I do for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how, you know, who would have thought someone working for, like you said, a phone company now being, you know, on YouTube and on most people's screens talking about skincare.
Yeah, you know, for the people I worked with back then, one side they're not surprised because they knew that was my thing. I helped a lot of people as friends and coworkers and things over the years when they were struggling with things, because they knew I had all that background and that they knew that story. But it wasn't ever like an official thing until the book came out. Yeah. The book made it official. I didn't plan on that to happen, but that's what happened. So here we are.
How amazing is that? That's absolutely amazing. And you having, you know, had experience yourself and then passing it on, I think that's really important. And a lot of people will be able to, you know, trust you and you know, and look at you and be like, wow, you've been through it. And look at you. I mean, you don't even look a day over 50, honestly, which is amazing. So it's awesome to have the face on there, because a lot of people who make their skincare products, they're not the face of it. So you're like, you know, you're walking result of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the other thing that sort of came out that I didn't plan on this time, was that I really thought that the channel would be more focused on the skin issues like acne and rosacea and eczema, the more immune driven, diet driven, and more on fitness. And of course, at the time I started the channel, I was getting back into my fitness routines with intermittent fasting. So a lot of the videos were revolved around food and cooking and stuff. But it's when I started talking about the anti-aging and telling people how old I was, you know, it's a lifetime of doing skincare and being very consistent with that, especially sunscreen. And you guys and down there where you are knew about the sunscreen and how important that is. So I got started early. I got lucky, I guess, from being unlucky in dealing with the acne, because I learned to exfoliate. I learned to watch my diet. I learned to make sure I wore sunscreen, to moisturize. I was using glycolic acid, which is very common now, exfoliator, in my 20s, because it helped keep my skin clear. So 34 years later, now when I get on camera, you know, people are like, and I had that issue in my 40s when I was doing the TV. I would go in to do the book and they would have my age and they would walk in the room and go, "Is Chris Gibson here?" And I'm like, "That's me." And they're like, "Well, you don't look as old as we thought you would look." And I'm like, "Well, how old do I have to look?" And they're going, oh no, it's just, you obviously, so if you go back and watch my TV clips, almost every time a host goes, well, you obviously know what you're doing. So, so that really is what blew the channel up, because I'm an oddity on YouTube. Most guys on YouTube that talk skincare, or either a plastic surgeon like Dr. Anthony Yoon, who's really bad, and I like these guys, or they're young guys reviewing skincare products as a consumer, like a consumer type of thing. So they're in the space, it's mostly women over 50 doing this. So here's this guy, and I don't change for people. Sometimes I wear hats in my videos. People don't like that. Sometimes I do the video in the kitchen. Sometimes people don't like that. I'm me, and that's just what you get. So I think what's happened now is that most of the people who subscribe to the channel like the everyday approach, that I'm not on there. I mean, I dress nice. Sometimes I don't come in crummy looking, but if I'm going to do a skincare routine on camera, I'm in a tank top and I've got a bandana with my hair out of my face to do the skincare routine. There's no glamour in it at all. So
yeah, you're just the average individual that's just wanting to show what you're doing on camera. I love that. So let's go into today's topic, which I'm so interested. It's going to be about acne, blackheads, milia, pigmentation. I mean, let's talk about skin. There's so many topics I've put in there. I mean, we can talk about, I think, months. You can talk about like a whole week just on acne, a whole week just on blackheads.
We'll call this, what the heck is wrong with my pores?
Yeah.
Because all of that stuff has to do with the pore, the skin pore, and the health of the skin pore, all of those things too.
All right, let's go into that. Let's talk about those skin pores. Like, let's go one-on-one on skin, and we can go into skin pores. So, let's see where it leads us.
All right. So at the basis of most of those problems, acne is oil, dirt, bacteria trapped in a pore. It gets sort of an airproof cap, and then the bacteria grows. Milia is usually a keratin deposit. Keratin is part of our sebum. It's a quality of the oil that we produce. It makes our hair nice and soft and all of those things. In some people, it can get trapped with little tiny dead skin cells. And I'm talking about microscopic. These are not skin cells that you would see with the naked eye. As people think flaky skin, that is a thing, but that's not what I'm talking about. That stuff hardens and sits on top of the skin. That's Milia, the little white nodule. And so we'll talk about the different things to do, because I did a Milia video that I was like, I have the police chasing me in the video because in the US, they don't like estheticians to tell people how to take those off with the needle. But I did it anyway.
Yes, I saw that video, because I used to have Milia 4 years ago, like so many on my eyes, and I went to a dermatologist to help me with them. I had history about it, and then all he said is to me, he goes, "Go to a beautician to remove it."
Yeah, and then you got to look at the products you're using, because usually there's something in the ingredients that are causing that to be more common, and heredity always plays a part in all of these things as far as oil production. So it all really starts with the pores. So what I try to do, and this is for everybody at any age, you want to make sure that you're treating your skin and with products, losing cleansers, or your skin is, first of all, not dry and tight when you're done. Your skin should never feel squeaky clean after using a face wash product. So what should it feel like? Well, it should feel damp, refreshed, moisturized, clean. It's not going to have that dry, tight feeling. And I can remember as a teenager trying to thinking the oil was the problem, and how those soaps just tightened your skin, just like your skin's like. And what happens when you do that is it creates a message to your skin cells and your oil glands to produce more oil. So what happens is you end up producing a lot more oil. Now, oil in of itself doesn't cause the breakouts for acne. That's a reaction to the bacteria. Your body thinks the bacteria is bad, so it kind of wages a war on there. And we know that inflammation in the body plays a role in that. So people with diets high in sugar, lots of stress, medical issues, that's why weddings flare people's stuff up. I mean, I get every summer I get a slew of folks that are getting married that are having breakouts all of a sudden, or the rosacea's flaring up. And I'm like, it's a vicious cycle. You're stressed out, so your body's inflamed. So now you've got that going on. So first of all, obviously the right kind of face wash, then also looking at what your life situation is and not getting into that space where you're trying to battle the acne. And I know what that's like, because I did that battle. Yeah, I talk about that in the book. I hit myself in the face one time as a teenager because I was so sick of having breakouts. Now, if I get an occasional bump, I'm like, whatever. It's like, I don't care anymore what people think. But when you're younger, you care about that stuff. You think it's some sort of badge or says something about how you are. So then after that diet, for all of those, and I think a lot of people are now getting educated, fortunately, that they need to look at their gut health and make sure that they are in balance, especially if they've been on a lot of antibiotics, to take probiotics to balance that back out. It's very helpful. Getting off sugar, excuse me, getting off sugar and dairy for a while, food vacation can really help. 100%. Taking stuff out of your diet and slowly putting it back in to see what thing causes the problem.
Yeah.
Drink time.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because I took dairy out of my diet and I haven't had Milia since. Like, at all. None. Not even one.
People are shocked about that. And it's like, it's, for the longest time, it was that food has no role in your skin. I can remember on one side of it, it was the myth that, you can't eat chocolate. Well, it was really the sugar, not the chocolate, causing the problem. But dairy has been altered for a lot of us, not you guys so much, but here in the US, milk products and cheese products are often, they've got residual antibiotic in them. Processed cheeses that are altered for dairy fat, the fat profile when people eat them, especially women, it causes a lot more problems we see than in the guys necessarily. But sugar is the big one, and sugar is bad for your collagen production. It makes your skin cells weaker. It makes your collagen weaker. It hurts the elasticity in the elastin bands in your skin. So as you get older, it creates a lot of problems, not to mention the health problems that that go along with too much of it, like diabetes. So it's not that you can't have something sweet. It's the holidays. I'm going to eat peppermint ice cream and I'm going to have pumpkin pie and all that other stuff, but I'm going to be mindful of how much of it I'm having, and it won't bother me unless I keep it up. And I personally had to fall off the wagon a few years to figure that out, because I would be clear all year long. The holidays would come up and I would start eating all that stuff, and I'd be January and I'd still have stuff left over and I'd keep eating it. And then I'd start to get the little breakouts and like, oh, okay, we've hit the top of the fulcrum. I don't want to go that way. So
you test yourself to see how much you can take.
Yeah,
hey?
Yeah. And gluten can be a problem for some people too, can be a trigger. It really is the easiest way to find out if it's your diet, and it's a 2-week period worth your time. Not just for skin, but for how you feel. So if you take dairy, gluten, and sugar, and we're like, well, what else is there to eat? There's a lot to eat without that. Take that stuff out of your diet for 2 weeks, and then judge for yourself. Take a selfie before you start. If it's a skin issue, look at your weight 2 weeks out. Don't go in the mirror and look for a result every single day. Although with skin problems, sugar and dairy out of your diet, usually within a few days, it starts to calm down. So it's not like it takes 2 weeks, but a full 2 weeks, 14 days of abstaining of that, judging where you are and how you feel and how your skin looks can really teach you, more than I can just telling people about it. So, and then people start to add it back in to try the dairy first. Sugar should always be last, because sugar is going to be an issue for most everybody. And then it doesn't mean you can't have something. Now we have sugar substitutes that are perfectly reasonable. Stevia and Splenda, not so much aspartame. There's still some issues with that. The jury is still out on that one, really. But there are enough sweeteners that are made from plants that you don't have to have the sugar.
100%, 100%. So let tell us a little bit. Why would someone get some pigmentation? I mean, individuals,
Hyperpigmentation, melasma,
yeah.
age spots.
Some people get it after they
But
become pregnant. Some people get it with
yes.
their age. Yeah. What's the go with
It,
that?
it is the programming of the pigmentation or melanin in your cell structure. Your DNA decides that. It can be melasma in particularly brought on by hormones during pregnancy. A lot of times it does fade, but for some people it doesn't go away because again, it's a DNA programming the melanin production in that group of cells. So for most people, and I'll circle back around to that, but for most people, all of those issues have to do with some sort of cell damage, sun damage that has occurred over time. And sun damage begins in the skin as soon as it's exposed on a regular basis. Now, clearly, if you look at evolution, we're not underground dwellers. We have skin defenses that will work just fine to protect most of us. But, you know, with some of the things that we have going on with the thinning ozone layer and the more intense UVA, UVB light, more time out in the daylight, depending on your genetic history, all of those things play a role in how much the sun can damage your skin. And it's not even, it is sunburns. I mean, there's a lot of focus on how many sunburns someone gets as a child, but it really is the accumulated daily sunlight that your skin is getting that leads to the aging and the melasma problems, the age spots. And there are ways to deal with all of those. Melasma responds really well to alpha-arbutin and azelaic acid, which are two skincare acids that help disperse the melanin, help turn off that programming in those cells' DNA so that it doesn't gather as much. That works a little bit deeper. It takes a little bit longer to see the effects, but it works very well. Then you got vitamin C serums and things like tranexamic acid, kojic acid that help work on the surface cells that are already discolored to help dislodge them. So that at the same time you're improving the cells you're creating to disperse the melanin, you're beginning to remove the darker spots that you already have. And of course, the queen of all of those are the retinoids, which over time actually can even remove precancerous cells. So like tretinoin, the prescription strength. So there's a lot we can do with sun damage, but as I always tell people, sunscreen, sunscreen, sunscreen. Have I told you if you you need to wear a sunscreen? It's much easier to prevent these things than to reverse them.
100%.
So,
you did mention vitamin C, and I thought I'll jump to that because I had a question about vitamin C.
Sure.
So what role does actually vitamin C play in skin health internally and externally?
Well, I'm glad you said internally because a lot of people focus on the serum itself. You need to have enough vitamin C, especially women. Vitamin C, vitamin D3, and K2 vitamins are very important because they help with the distribution of calcium in the blood so that, well, obviously it helps with osteoporosis issues, but it also helps with skin and collagen production. So K2, and I'm going to circle back to vitamin C because there's a reason why I'm doing this. So K2 is not the same as K1, which we think of as the vitamin that helps people with bruises and such. K2 really does work more with the calcium in the body and how it's what's the word, distributed. So we want to get calcium into the brain, into the bones, into the skin, the collagen structures, all of that. Vitamin C serum is sort of like the gladiator, I guess, of them because it is the super antioxidant, strong, not ingredient, what a nutrient that skin cells can actually use. It helps strengthen them. It helps them replicate stronger cells rather than going weaker. It helps prevent sun damage. It really helps with oxidative stress from pollutants and toxins in the air and touching our skin and our cosmetics and all of that stuff. And it does have the ability to lighten that same ability to brighten and lighten the complexion on the very surface of the skin. So you need vitamin C inside to help with the other things we just talked about, so distribution of nutrients and strength of cell reproduction. And you want it on the outside as a barrier to protect your skin from toxins. It does help with sun damage. It works in tandem with a lot of things, especially if you combine vitamin C and ferulic acid. ferulic acid sort of boosts the vitamin C. So I know everybody's going to be scrambling like, but all of these things I do talk about on the channel, by the way. There are videos on all of this stuff.
I want to put the link down in the descriptions also, so you can just jump on that.
But you want vitamin C serum because it is very acceptable to the skin for most people. There are two kinds, two ingredients. The first is L-Ascorbic acid, which is the unstable version of vitamin C serum. It's some things like the ordinary vitamin C suspension I talk about. It's stronger, more caustic. It's an acid. It's a very powerful ingredient, especially at 15% or more. 23% is about as high as you want to go with those. If you can't tolerate vitamin C serums, or you have found that you get little breakouts when you use them, check to make sure it's not L-ascorbic acid. And if it is, switch to sodium ascorbyl phosphate acids, which are a stable version, very much milder, a little slower to act, but it will still give you the same results over time. And it is very acceptable to most people with sensitive skin. But vitamin C, the bottom line for both of those is you're providing an antioxidant barrier to your skin to prevent oxidation, which is very good for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you did
I answer that question?
No, yeah, I love that. I love that you went into internal also, because as you said, us being exposed to toxins, us being stressed out. Our vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, which goes through our body, which means we always need to back it up. You can't just have it once a week. You need to have it every day to have enough.
Yeah, exactly. And the old school thing is people have heard in the past, vitamin C helps fight off free radicals. Well, what is a free radical? Well, free radicals damage cell walls and make the cells weaker, and they die sooner. So, and they're replaced prematurely with weaker cells. So we want to stop as much free radical damage. And that comes not just from sun, but like you said, stress, toxins. If you work out a lot, if you're an athlete, you produce a lot more free radicals. That's why sometimes we see people that are just crazy workout people and runners, and they look older than you would think. They're healthy, but their skin looks older, and that's because of the free radical damage that accumulates over time. So I'm not a big fan of crazy exercise routines. I am a fan of people working out, lifting weights, staying strong, being active, moderately active, and not sedentary, because it does so much for all the things we're talking about. It helps collagen production, cell strength. You can actually roll back the years biologically. They've proven that. If you have been sedentary, you're going to start to have a more active lifestyle. In fact, I'm putting a video out tomorrow on this very topic about taking 3 years off your age in just 8 weeks. So it doesn't take a long time once you put those things in place to start to see the difference, not just in your skin, but how you feel and all the metabolism, everything. So
what exercise are you talking about? Are you talking about like jumping jacks? Are you talking about lifting weights?
I mean, walking, swimming, playing fetch with the dog. And
that brings happiness too.
Yeah. And that's emotional. It's helpful. It produces a lot of these, we talk about serotonin and endorphin. We hear about all that stuff. It makes you stay limber, so you're not stiff and tired. And it just helps. We're meant to move. We're not meant to sit. So a lot of times for people, when they start doing that, very light exercise, walking every day, making sure they get the 20,000 steps, whatever they want. Fitbits are great. All smartwatches can help you with that. It can make a really big difference, and it shows up really quickly in your biological markers. So, and there's study after study. I've gotten to where I link studies now in my video descriptions. And I end up being too talky on the video. So I'm like, all right, here's what the study says. I'll put the link in there. Go read it if you want to, so that you can get the full details. But I have been very active almost my whole life, and I didn't even know I was doing this the right way. I would be super active as far as working out. I have a indoor gym for myself. I lift. I don't lift to build huge muscles. I lift to keep my strength up, especially in your legs. You want to do that when you start getting to be my age. I see people in their 30s that have a hard time walking, and I'm like, wow. So that little bit of stress on your bones and muscles keeps them strong. and keeps you strong. And it helps everything work better. And you're producing stronger and stronger cells to replace the cells that are naturally dying off. So, heart health, all that stuff's tied to that. Circulatory system, getting oxygen and nutrients again to the skin, the brain, and the other organs, all of that stuff. So, and it's easy. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to go buy one skincare product to do that. And you will see a difference in your skin. I have seen people in my field who had clients, and I've had a few that had drug problems. And one of the things, the people that were very successful in staying sober from drugs and alcohol implemented some sort of physical activity to help replace that craving. Their skin is different after that. Like when people are unwell or they're on some sort of drug, a lot of times the skin is dry and kind of got a weird color or colorless. So they're more prone to issues, patchy problems. Their skin just doesn't look healthy. It's amazing what exercise does for those people and their skin. It takes years off. It just takes the years off of them.
Yeah.
So that's how much power that, again, costs you nothing but time.
Chris, I love that you mentioned walking. I mean, we just forget about walking and being out in nature. I mean, the benefits that doesn't just bring to the skin, it brings, like you mentioned, heart health, brain, there's so many other aspects.
Clarity in your thinking, that gets rid of that fuzzy, overwhelmed feeling, because usually when you have to focus. So I'm a big proponent of yoga for people that are afraid to do too much physical activity. I say, look at all the people that we know, and there are celebrities that are very visible that have yoga has been a part of their practice since they were in their 20s, and they look great. They're not having plastic surgery. They don't have anything loose. They're in their 50s, and we've all seen folks like that. So you don't have to go be a gym rat, and you don't have to run marathons. In fact, I would tell you probably shouldn't do that unless that's really your thing, because you can damage yourself. But that to me, next to diet, we're talking about skincare from the inside out. It's so important to do that, because it makes everything work better. You want that blood, you want those capillaries taking the nutrients and oxygen all the way to the surface of the skin. So a lot of times when you haven't been doing that, you feel a stingy kind of feeling on your skin. Like if you start doing the light jogging or the walking, or you're on the treadmill, a lot of people, they'll get kind of flushed. That'll be like the first time their skin has been getting that blood flow in a really long time. It's kind of stings.
And then they stop because they think they're hurting themselves.
It's not. It's actually your capillaries finally opening back up and taking the nutrients and oxygen back to where it needs to be on the surface of the skin. So a couple of weeks into exercise, you notice a difference. 2 weeks diet, you notice a difference. Why not?
Simple things. So you spoke about sun, right? As damaging our skin and maybe causing acne, blackheads, Milia, pigmentation, so forth, right? Are there any other unspoken causes that may be adding to these skin conditions that not people might be surprised with and be like, wow, really? Besides, you mentioned the food, you mentioned gluten, dairy, you mentioned sun. Is there anything else that can pop up to your head that many people wouldn't know about?
Well, I think a lot of people don't think about the air that you're in. And that doesn't necessarily mean, I'm not one of these crazy people like, we're all in like China where the air can be really bad, or LA or what have you, not just pick on one place. But there are substances in the air that are irritants to the skin. And a lot of times, if our skin hasn't been taken care of properly, our lipid barrier, which is different than the moisture barrier, breaks down. And those irritants can get into the surface of the skin and cause inflammation and irritation that leads to those breakouts. Cause irritation makes us do what? We touch our skin more. It's like allergies and people who rub their eyes. You're not even conscious of it a lot of the time. It's a subconscious reaction. And I think that people skip, a lot of people skip that nightly face wash and say, I'll just do it in the morning. So anything, makeup, we always pick on the ladies about taking their cosmetics off. I tell everybody, it doesn't matter if you have cosmetics or not. You need a good facial cleaning at night. You need to cleanse your skin and get all that stuff off, because your night Your skin has a nighttime repair cycle while you're sleeping. Excuse me. And you want to support that by having clean, moisturized skin while you sleep. So,
because then you can put that on your pillow,
right,
your pillowcase, and that will be a huge cause of skin issues. The pillowcase, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Not cleaning them or using detergents that irritate your skin. Excuse me. So yeah, there are hidden things that can irritate your skin, and you're not even aware of it.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about some ingredients. I know you've got a few videos on your channel where you talk about ingredients and so forth, but what is like maybe 1, 2, or 3 ingredients, however many you want, that are no-go, like no one should ever put them on their skin?
Some people will disagree with me on some of these. Excuse me. Well, first of all, you should never put lemon juice on your skin. And I know that that's been a thing in the past because people think, well, that's vitamin C serum. Well, no, it really isn't. It's as I said, that's L-Ascorbic acid. It's very unstable. It can burn your skin. You can have allergies to that high level of ascorbic acid. And it really does it. It's so strong that your skin really treats it as an enemy, as an irritant, rather than something that's helpful. So I tell people, please don't put lemon juice on your skin. It's not good. In general, and this is going to be one where people go, coconut oil. Now, coconut oil is good for severely dried skin. If you have a broken leg and your foot's all dried out, using a petroleum jelly, Vaseline, or coconut oil or something that's going to cap and hold the moisture in, that's fine. But as a body lotion or rub, it is not good. It is comedogenic. It will block pores. Yes, if you have drier skin, you probably can get away with it without too much of a problem. But people that have acne issues, rosacea, eczema should not put coconut oil on their skin. Now, that doesn't mean you can't buy good products that are formulated that have coconut oil in them, because the coconut oil has been broken down in the process. So you're getting the moisturizing ingredients without the comedogenic ingredients. And they're often use alcohol esters, which are okay for skin. That's not denatured alcohol, which dries it out. These are fatty acid alcohols that help break that coconut oil up. So you're getting the moisturizing benefits. Kopari is a really good brand of coconut oil products. Can be very helpful, especially if you have severe dry skin or wintertime. You guys are going into your nice part of the year, and we're going into winter. So yeah, when it's cold and dry, the air is very dry, it can be helpful, but it needs to be in a product that's designed for the body, not just like pure coconut oil, that stuff that comes in the jar that you cook with.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. That's interesting, because a lot of people, I can just imagine people that are listening to the podcast would be like, oh, well, I have used coconut oil previously on my skin, and I've looked into this before, and because coconut oil is known to be antibacterial and so forth, but it does clog the pores.
It does,
and it can cause drama on your skin.
Yes, it can. And that's and because, and I have to tell people, because when I do the videos, I don't know. I just did one on a mole removal pen on how to get rid of skin tags and stuff. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, one, or dermatologist, and an esthetician is really going to tell you any sort of medical advice. So, and I can't see everybody. There's thousands of people listening to those videos. So I have to say, you're going to err on the side of caution here and say, that's probably not good. It's like the people that do slugging. And I know that there are some big YouTube personalities that think that's awesome. One of them is a dermatologist, and I love her channel, but I just disagree with that because I've seen what Vaseline, petroleum jelly products can do for people's skin who have those kind of issues.
What was that called? Slugging, did you say?
Yes, it's called slugging. And what it's where you do your skincare routine, you put your products on, and then you coat your skin in Vaseline overnight. It makes for a messy pillow.
Definitely would.
So for some people, it's going to be, it's going to be effective temporary lipid barrier that may help with some things, but I can't put that out generally because I've seen, especially people with acne, anything that traps, and Vaseline isn't comedogenic. It doesn't harden down in the pore and causes necessarily the same problem, but you're still trapping oil down in the skin and any bacteria. I mean, the person would have to be really good at cleansing. You know what I mean? There's so many factors. It's just, you don't need it. It's not necessary. You can use so many different products now that have hyaluronic acid. Glycerin is a great skin product. It does very similar things. Dimethicone's kind of on the edge because it's a silicone and some people have issues with it, but it has been proven to be safe. So that's another capping ingredient in skincare that will help hold moisture in. That's what the whole thing is. So there's other ways to do that.
So we've got lemon juice and coconut oil. Is there a third one that should be no-go to put on the skin?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I'm just running them through my head as to which ones I want to
give us the fancy one.
Which one I want to pick. It's okay. Well, yeah, here's another one that people still do that toothpaste. Toothpaste is not, and part of this is TikTok. I feel like I almost feel like a bunch of us had this stuff under control. Like you didn't hear about this stuff anymore. Like people weren't mixing lemon juice and salt and putting it on their skin, and they weren't putting lemon juice in their hair and all the stuff you heard about in the 80s. And they weren't slathering on mineral oil with iodine and all the stuff to get tan. So this stuff went away. But then TikTok came around. And all of these crazy things are back. Putting toothpaste on our skin to try to get rid of pimples. No. Toothpaste is very caustic. Think about that. You can't swallow it. It's a product you're not supposed to swallow. So it would figure that it's not good to be on your skin. It has, there are baking soda ingredients, and baking soda is one of those that can be okay for some skin things and not for others. Because I have some DIY baking soda things that are okay. But toothpaste is designed with a lot of salts. It's very caustic. It's designed to break down, plaque on the tooth. That's just not a good skin. You would think, and it stings, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything to help with the acne. There are so many spot treaters made with good products like camphor, salicylic acid that you can just put on as soon as you feel the bump, and it gets rid of it. So you don't even have to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In my day, toothpaste got rid of the hickeys that you got on your neck when you went to school. That was the story. It didn't work.
You just had
the only
this
thing that would
stuff
work
on
would
your
be
neck.
a high collared shirt, right?
Or a scarf.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time someone came to school with a scarf and it was summer, you're like, sus.
You're like, we know what you've been doing.
You had a good weekend. So now that we've spoken about 3, coconut oil, lemon juice, and also toothpaste, no go on the skin. What are some 3? And I know this is like we always say, this is depending on the individual and all so forth. But what are some 3 products or supplements or ingredients or whatever you want to call them, which everyone should be putting on their skin?
Yeah. That's the thing that I've been focused on this last half of the year. There are, for most everyone, starting at about age 30, I started at 23. Everyone should be obviously using sunscreen. Kids, parents should be putting, I think your country is better at that than we are, although it's getting better. But, then there's the controversies, and I don't want to go off the topic. There's the controversies about whether this sunscreen is actually the right strength and all that. We could spend a whole podcast on that. But suffice it to say, sunscreen is necessary as soon as you can start wearing it. But in your 20s, in your late 20s, 30s, you should be using a vitamin C serum. And it's good that we talked about that, because that's when people say, well, what if you created a routine for me, what would be what I absolutely had to have? Well, the first one would be vitamin C serum. The next would be some sort of peptides. And there's a lot of confusion over that because I just answered a question. Collagen peptides are amino acids. They're water-based. You can take them internally as a supplement, or you can apply them to the skin. And
I was going to say internally or externally.
Yeah, both. You can do both. I take collagen peptides as an ingredient I add to like my tea. That is not collagen, however, it's collagen peptides. Collagen molecules are too big to be, excuse me, got all choked up. Too big to be absorbed by the skin. They help moisturize. They'll sit on top, but that's not the same thing. So collagen peptides, and then clearly some sort of retinol moisturizer, if you can tolerate it. Some people have a hard time with retinoic acid. And the reason for that is most products go from a retinol and it converts on the skin into retinaldehyde. Then it converts from retinaldehyde to retinoic acid, which is what your skin cells actually use. So that conversion process can cause a lot of irritation on some people's skin. So what I tell them is then you want to use retinaldehyde products, and there are a lot of those out there. You just have to use the word retinaldehyde. So it skips one of those conversions.
So you go straight into your skin.
Bakuchiol is another ingredient that's a substitute for retinol for people that have sensitive skin. Bakuchiol, and that can give you some of the same benefits without the irritation. But those three things are going to help support your collagen production. They're going to help prevent you from getting fine lines and wrinkles, static wrinkles from when we move our face, with the dynamic wrinkles that show up when we smile, and the forehead wrinkles. And in your 20s, they go away. And then one day in your 30s, you look in the mirror and go, they're not going away. So it helps slow that process down. And when you're using sunscreen to protect your skin, you really have a good anti-skin cancer step in there. And a lot of people don't think about that. So, and if you can tolerate tretinoin, which is the Retin-A, which is the prescription version, then you should do it. I don't do it because if I get on tretinoin, I can't test the other stuff I test. So I just stick to retinol moisturizers because that's what most people use. And I like to test those formulations out. So those would be the things, that, and again, the sunscreen, making sure you don't forget.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've had an awesome day out, and you get to the mirror, get to the to the bathroom. Hopefully, you don't do it in the kitchen. You get to the bathroom and you wash your face, right? Hot, cold water. Is there a difference in the morning, at night? Because I've seen a lot of people, you're doing cold showers and these things. Does that hurt the skin? Is it beneficial for the skin, or is hot water really damaging to the skin also?
This is amazing. I need to do a video on this question. I get this question every time. It's because that's really good. It's good to know that it's okay. So the answer is, the answer, like a lot of things in skincare, is depends. You should never use scalding hot water on your skin. You should not do that. It removes too much of the skin oil. You can burn the skin cells. You can burn skin cells without having a sensation of being burned. So never super hot water. So here's what I say about that. Lukewarm water is best. Cool water is okay if you can tolerate it and it works with whatever your cleansers you're using. Most people feel like they're not clean unless they use warmer water, there's nothing wrong with that. There is a time when I think hotter water, not scalding hot water, but a warm to hot washcloth for acne sufferers was a huge thing my dermatologist taught me, to steam your skin. Now you can buy a steamer, do the same thing, but you would never want it any hotter than the steam off a facial steamer. But doing that will often help soften the sebum, help those pores discharge the contents. It's going to make your pores look bigger or smaller, because pores are pores. It's just what's inside them that makes them look bigger. It's very helpful. And that's one of my most popular videos from the beginning of the channel, is that 5-minute hack that I learned from my dermatologist when I had really severe acne. It pretty much eliminated the cystic part, because I was very disciplined about doing that in the morning and in the evening for 5 to 10 minutes just before I used my cleanser. And it really help dislodge that oil. So that is when, but never a time you should be in scalding hot water. And I got this question before, and it's like, if you get out of the shower or the tub and you're red from the hot water, that's too hot. Your skin should never be red. I know people that boil themselves like lobster.
I love it.
Totally not necessary.
So we've got the cloth and we've, washed our face,
Yes.
and then we cleanse. Is that the next step?
Yeah. If you're going to do steaming, you want to steam the skin first so that the oil, the sebum that's hardened down in the pore around the hair follicle is loose and more liquefied. You're going to find that products, especially if you have acne, products that have salicylic acid or niacinamide are going to work better for you after the steaming and cleansing process because the pore is going to be somewhat cleared out already. So the process of doing that once or twice a day, plus applying salicylic acid, niacinamide, which helps regulate oil production, it also helps dissolve and that oil, and also really dampens down inflammation. Because the inflammation makes you produce more oil. It's all like it's a little vicious cycle that gets going. And our intuition on what to do about it, or our learned intuition from decades of people thinking that dirt was the problem, makes us overdo it, and we just make the skin angrier. And you really want to, inflammation is like the root of it. And if you can get your skin pores cleared out, and then those products are working well to reduce that inflammation, you're going to see an improvement. So.
Amazing. And then do we, there's all that story about exfoliating. We exfoliate once, twice, 3 times a week.
I'm a big proponent of exfoliation, probably more than anybody I have watched on YouTube. There are 2 ways to exfoliate. There's physical exfoliation. I'm a big proponent of a thing called the Buff Puff. It's a little sponge. I talk about it on the channel all the time. It's been around forever. It's funny, the older people, I say older, people in their 30s and 40s know what that is. They go, my dermatologist made me use one of those when I had acne. And what it does is it helps lift off those dead skin cells that don't want to come off. But it's not scrubbing a pan. So I use that daily, all over. I have used a Goshi exfoliating towel. Those things are wonderful. I really, I don't tell Buff Puff that, but I really like the Goshi towel. So I have one upstairs. Everybody's getting those I almost gave that away. Everybody's getting those from Christmas from me. So because they are so great. But you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to do that 2 or 3 times a day. You have to kind of judge how your skin behaves.
Yeah. If
you're going to start doing that, you might do it every other day, lightly, to see how your skin tolerates it, and you'll know. I've been exfoliating my skin since I was in my early 20s. So my skin takes a lot of things and is used to a lot of things, but it has benefited me. You can do chemical exfoliation. It's absolutely fine. Glycolic acid. I use a 14% one myself every morning as part of my morning routine, which helps loosen the bond between those old skin cells and the new ones so that they naturally flake off. And again, this is not peeling. You're not going to see it necessarily, but it does really help. And so does like lactic acid. Those products, the AHAs as we call them, can really be helpful in speeding that process up. And by getting the old skin off, you keep your pores clearer, you have new skin being more visible, your products work better because they don't have to try to penetrate that layer of issues. If you have if you've not really taken care of your skin and you have a lot of sun damage, I recommend you go to a spa salon or a dermatologist and have a skin peel done, like a TCA peel, to get that initial crust off your skin. It's going to sting and there's some downtime, but I tell you, people are shocked when they have those, what their skin looks like when that old skin comes off. It can take 10, 15, 20 years off a person's skin. A face peel done professionally and correctly. You can do some of them at home. There are brands out there that are good for home peels that are buffered. But if you have a buildup, like you have a lot of sun damage and that's your and wrinkling and thicker areas, a lot of discoloration, a skin peel is usually a really good place to start. And they're not terribly expensive. Yeah. $200-$300 usually for a professionally done skin peel. Well worth the money.
There you go. There's a video for you how to look 20 years younger in one day.
Yeah, well, you usually look worse that first day, because it has to peel off. But
I love that.
a couple of weeks later, when that skin is gone, people are like, I can't
love that.
believe that it's like that. So yeah,
That's amazing. That's
why snakes never age.
No, they don't do that. They're shed.
Snakes don't age. You don't know if it's a 300-year-old snake or a 2-day-old snake. Not the best thing. Snake's not the best example, but even in the animal kingdom, because they're designed to be outdoors. So we are to some degree, but not that degree. We've been wearing clothing for too long. As we've evolved, during the Ice Age, we learned to like throw on a lot of clothes. So we don't have the hair, and this skin isn't really designed to protect itself unless your background is from a country that is, very sunny, and that's in your genetics. You get a little more help. If you have more melanin, basically, if you're darker complected, it's helpful. But anymore, the sun, the thinner ozone layer, the UVA, UV rays are really strong. So for anybody, sunscreen is really a necessary thing.
Yeah, 100%. Here's a question for you, if you've got just a bit of time. Yeah. I looked at blue light and the effects of internal blue light on our skin. Have you looked into that lately?
I am testing all sorts of devices. I think that the light therapies are very promising. We know now that red light therapy, we could go into there's all these different types of therapies for skin and hair, but we know that red light therapy really helps collagen, as does radio frequency, warming those collagen cells down below the skin surface. We've known for years that red light therapy helps speed the healing process. They've used it they've used it in sports forever. That's how they speed heal those guys when they get hurt. But now we know that it works on the mitochondria around the cell and can stimulate people that have been bald or growing hair on their heads now. I mean, they've been using drugs for years trying to do this. They're finding that red light therapy is very helpful in that case. And it seems to work for both men and women. Doesn't really matter what the cause is. If the person is willing to stick with it it's a lengthy process. It's not overnight, but you're actually changing that DNA message in the cell so that it's replicate. Same thing. Most skin, this is one thing I do want to stick in here because it's so important. And we probably would have missed it. All of these therapies, with the exception of the skin peel that we just talked about, take time to give you results. And what most often happens is people because it's the skin industry's fault, because they have allowed people to market things as like instant fix and you'll look 10 years younger tomorrow, start using this cream or whatever. Topicals are great. Skincare ingredients are great, but your skin cells only replace themselves ever so often. It takes a couple of months for any of this to show you some really decent results. And most people give up way too soon. So the light therapies do work, but they take a commitment. They're going to take a commitment for you to get results, but they will give you results. Everybody's a little bit different as to what they get, but it's the same with like derma rolling. I'm testing that too. You roll the needles, which put the little pricks in the skin, and the skin goes, oh, we've got damage. And that's been proven. They've done biopsy measures. It does increase collagen. Not the most comfortable process.
I could just imagine.
I don't like needles, but I'm doing it. Anything for my subscribers. But I'm about 6 weeks into the derma rolling, doing that once a week, and I am seeing some improvement in areas like on the backs of my hands. My hands haven't aged. I've always been really good about taking care of that too. So, but just know that you have to be patient. Take that selfie when you start. Give something a couple of months. You're going to spend the money. It's going to take you that long to get use out of it anyway. And then take another selfie and look and see. Yeah. It's surprising. I take enough before and after pictures. I just did one for the age spot removal thing, the pen. And I was looking at my hand versus when I did it versus after it healed. You know, this was like 3 or 4 weeks out. And I'm like going, wow, there's a big difference in the skin on my hand there. And there almost looks like a different, it's not, but I've been doing the derma rolling at the same time this is going on. So I can't wait to pull that out and put it in my derma rolling video, because I'm like, this is how you know.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You've shared so much valuable tips and practices for the audience and myself, Chris. I really, really do appreciate it. Before we let you go, I would like to know, what's one natural health hack that you do? You do so many, I could just imagine, but what's one that you do maybe every day, once a week, that you think is, you know what, this has been the game changer for me?
I think for me, it's hard because I've been doing things consistently for 34 years. But I think the thing that was the most surprising, the biggest thing that I've done with the biggest visible benefits was adding the collagen peptides to the diet. Because that was an 8-week test that I originally ran to say, I'm going to do this. Everybody on the channel knew I was doing it, and we'll see. I'll tell you what happens at the end of 8 weeks. And I got some surprising benefits out of that, because I have dry skin issues on my back, even though I have oilier skin and acne. That's often the way genetics are, for whatever reason, not on my back. And I've always struggled with lotion, and I have lip applicators because I can't stand that dry, itchy feeling. I was always doing this in the elevators or whatever. Like, I don't do that anymore. I haven't had that issue since I started it took a while for that to go away, but that's what did it. And so on collagen peptides, there are amino acids, there are 19 of them. I think the reason people's benefits seem to be different. Some people get better hair growth, some people get better nail growth, some people, it really helps with their arthritis and their pain in their joints. Some people, like me, that have drier skin, notice a big difference in the moisture level in their skin. That was surprising to me. So I am still taking them.
That's amazing.
I make sure that I take those every day.
That's awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing all the valuable information about all things skin with us. I mean, we could have spoken for another hour or two about so many things. So maybe one day we'll get you back on to talk about a topic in more depth. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining our Child Podcast. Sure. Is there anything you want to let the audience know before we say goodbye?
No, I mean, just, check out the channel. Obviously, you'll have the link for them, and there's a whole lot of information there on how to get your skin typed and stuff with me for free and all that stuff. Just listen to your skin, and you're always in charge of your health. I always tell people, you're in charge. Just because a product says that it's going to do something, if it's not, just admit it doesn't do it for whatever reason and move on. It's like, don't make it a struggle.
I love that. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us on Natural Podcast. Yeah. And remember, the missing link between failure and success is your health. Content and information provided here is opinion of Milia Raguse and is for information purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. It is not intended to provide medical advice or take the place of medical advice or any current treatment you're undertaking. Consult your own medical professionals for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast. It is advised that you consult your doctor or healthcare professional in relation to any health concerns you may be having. Milia Raguse does not take responsibility for any health consequences which occur from a person listening, viewing, or reading this content. And no circumstances shall the Natural Podcast, Milia Raguse, any guests or contributors to the Natural Podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Milia Raguse be responsible for damages arising from the information provided on the Natural Podcast. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical conditions in either yourself or others. Please note, if you're taking prescription, do not stop your medication or start a new protocol, including but not limited to supplements, diet, lifestyle changes without consulting a doctor or healthcare professional. If you or any person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical advice. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have read or heard on the Natural Podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. Neither Milia Raguse nor the publisher of this content takes responsibility for the possible health consequences of any person or persons reading or listening or following the information in educational content.